If you're wondering how many air vents to put in your coop, I'd suggest at least 2. Put those high up on the wall and on opposite ends of the coop. This is going to allow for fresh air to move through your coop. If your hen has decided to lay a clutch of eggs outside of her coop and is no longer inside of a protected area, it's going to be up to you to make sure that she's safe. That includes any cats that you may have or any local predators. Make sure you keep your cats inside where they can't get to the hen. If you need to, maybe put up a fence, set up a little temporary coop area around the hen while she sits in those eggs. I feel though that your best option is going to be to relocate the hen and her eggs back to her coop where she can be safe and worry-free from predation. For spacing purposes, I'm going to recommend that you have 1 nest box for every 4 hens. Too few nest boxes and it's going to lead to some aggression and a lot of fighting. One hen is going to be in the nest box laying an egg or sitting on some eggs, and another one's going to be outside of the nest box wanting to get in there to lay her egg, and she's not going to be very happy having to wait. On the other hand, too many nest boxes could also be a problem. Each hen can set up shop in its own nest box, and this could lead to your hens becoming broody. And if they become broody, then they're going to stop laying eggs, and that's going to hurt your egg production. So again, 1 nest box for every 4 birds. I'm not aware of any breeds that can't be housed together. The temperament of the birds is really going to be the key point here. Just make sure that you don't have an overly aggressive bird. Sometimes people have issues raising birds of different sizes. However, if these birds are raised together, this is less likely to be an issue. Just make sure if you are housing birds of different sizes, you just keep an eye on them and make sure that the bigger ones aren't picking on the smaller ones. People often ask if it's necessary to have a pond to raise ducks and geese. It's not necessary to have a pond for these animals. However, if you don't have a pond, then you need to make sure that you do provide them with a water source that is deep enough for them to dip their heads into it, at least up to their eyes. This is how they clean their eyes and keep their eyes free of bacterial infections. We often get asked, how often should I move a mobile coop? And how can I do that without causing undue stress to the birds? And really, the amount of time to move it or when to move it is going to be more of a judgment call on your part. I think after a while, your birds are going to get used to moving them, and their stress is going to be minimized after a while. There are some steps you can take to help minimize the stress on the birds. For example, just let the birds out to kind of roam around the yard while you move the coop. Let them roam around and then move the coop, and then when you've got the coop moved and they're ready to go back in, you just shuffle them back into the coop, and for the most part the chickens really aren't going to know that the coop was moved. They're probably going to be happier because now there's new grasses to explore, new weeds to explore, and new bugs to look for inside that area. So just remember that the more time they spend in one area, the more chicken manure is going to accumulate in that area. And, chicken manure is high in mineral content and tends to burn grass and plants more so than fertilize. If you're going to use manure to fertilize, you really need to compost that manure first.